break the goal down into parts so that you can move towards it and you have a fairly high likelihood of doing it. So that's a bit of practical, I wouldn't say advice, it's because it's better than advice. It's some practical knowledge about how to go about achieving an aim. Set a high aim, but differentiate it down so you know what the next step is, and then make the next step difficult enough so you have to push yourself past where you are, but also provide yourself with a reasonable probability of success.
Yo, what's up? What's up? It's the Hungry Millennial back again with yet another proactive pragmatism. On today's proactive pragmatism, I'd like to talk to you about rule number 4. And rule number 4 is very particular to my heart because, being in the military, climbing the ranks, when it comes to work and being at work and putting into work and doing different things, rule 4 is very important. And rule 4 of Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. And the thing about comparison can be the thief of joy, but it can also be the thief of false joy, false hope. A lot of people are living lives that they put on social media and they project that they're not really living. A lot of people are miserable. A lot of people are depressed. And you might have a more amazing life and a better path than they do, but it's hard to stay on your path when you're trying to compare yourself to them. we should be looking at what progress am I making going forward. So for instance, one thing that I've struggled with for, it's not really struggle, it's kind of a blessing, but staying on the fitness journey of, for what, the last, I want to say 3 or 4 years, I've been really heavy into my personal physical fitness. And it becomes really tough when you start comparing yourself to others' results and how they're doing. But the grounding part about it is realizing that it's your body. You have a different body than they do. One thing that made this evident was I did a MyFit body scan at Crunch Fitness. It's like currently where I'm working out at. I like the style and all the weights and all the things they have there. And at Crunch Fitness, it showed me that my posture was a little bit off, and I wasn't symmetrical, which I had to do some research. Most people aren't symmetrical, we don't even know it. But the good factor is I was at 15% body fat, and I was in the ideal category for all of those categories. But here's the poisonous part. So you start looking at it like I'm a little bit thicker, I weigh 196, and you look at it without any measurable results, and you're like, man, this is better than I thought. And it gets really hard because you be so hard on yourself that you get caught up in your head and don't focus on the process. But recently, what happened is I've been having, you get these knee aches and pains and different things like that. But the greatest part about life is when you compare yourself to who you were yesterday, you can find the small failures and the small issues in your form and really dig deep into something that you become passionate about and become better than who you were yesterday. So one thing that I struggle with, my body was always tight. I learned the hard way trying to run routes with the troops playing some football, and I pulled my hamstring, and that told me, hey, you need to go stretch. You're not as young as you used to be. I'm creeping up on 30 here, and you need to stretch and start taking care of your body from a food standpoint, a health standpoint, what you're consuming, what you're putting into your body, consuming more healthy calories, and making sure you're stretching before work, because I work an active job. I work for FedEx full time. And it's one of those things where it's easy to look at somebody else's results, how muscular they're becoming or how toned they are, and forgetting that your process isn't their process. And a lot of people you compare yourself to, they might be younger, they might have different variables. In the military, it's very hard to maintain physique because you have to do a lot of power and strength things. You got to do a lot of running, a lot of cardio. So you kind of have to find what works for you. And so from a health standpoint, it's really very important to not compare yourself to other people, but who you were yesterday. And don't pay attention to other people's results. It also ties into the financial realm. Just because everybody else is riding around and spending it and having a nice car, that's how I got into so much debt in the beginning. Because when you come from the projects, when you come from poverty, you think once you made it, you get that military money and you start getting fleeced by all these finance companies. And I realized there was a car that was only worth $5,000, but by the time the taxes and everything that went through and how my credit got factored in, somehow I got hinged on a loan for $16,000 on a $5,000 car. So that does happen. You do get fleeced. Thank goodness I started the Dave Ramsey savings plan and the baby steps and things like that prior to even hearing about the deployment, because I got deployed last minute. I literally had a week to get my shit together and deploy. And thankfully I started that plan because I had saved up just enough to get on that deployment. And sometimes, the hardest part was when you go back through my career and you're like, I didn't get the things that I thought that I wanted, or that the career success that I wanted early on, but a lot of those, the turning points and a lot of those failures created the success that I'm experiencing now. Because instead of folding at that time and be like, well, I'm hopeless, I can't do this, I can't do that, I got placed in the National Guard, I was competing for active duty, government shut down, blaming everybody else for these problems, I was able to harness just a little bit of that energy, a little bit of that hope, and turn it into work ethic, which that work ethic, when I turn that work ethic into consistency, and I'm still working on it, it started to pay dividends on the back end. I was able to set up steps in my life, because a big thing that one of my favorite motivational speakers talks about, Eric Thomas, he talks about one year his thing was stay ready. And a part of staying ready is being consistent and on top of your things, so other things don't pile up. Because issues in life are going to happen, but it's about how you face those issues and how you look at those issues and how you bottle them up and use them as fuel into your tank to propel you forward. It's not what's happening now, it's about what you do with the situation. But if you stay ready, you start doing the small things, right? Then you can accept the bigger things in your life. It comes out, one big thing about finance, and I had a conversation with a good friend who has completed a lot of the baby steps in the Dave Ramsey plan. We spoke, I referenced having a great defense, being defensive about your budget, being defensive about your finances, eliminating any small thing that's getting in the way of you being successful financially is going to take you to higher heights. And it's going to change how you look at money, because you'll start saving, you'll start putting it away. Expenses don't look as crazy as you used to think they were because you're playing great defense. That way, when it comes to offense, you can start honing your offense of trying to make more money and getting better jobs. So when you do go get more money and you get a better job, you're going to look 10 times better, because you don't have all the stuff that everybody else has. You don't have the car payments. You don't have the house that you wanted to buy because everybody else was buying one and you didn't even need a house. You don't have those things in the way holding you back. You don't have the loan payments. You don't have the loan sharks coming and knocking on your door. You don't have, because a lot of insurance is also based off of your credit. You don't have a lot of the poor credit ratings because you've eliminated credit card debt and things like that. You don't do that. You pay things in cash. When everybody else is going out on the weekend and they spending $400 or $500 on the most expensive thing, you don't do that. You got the bottle of wine at the crib. You don't have to completely go cold turkey, but a $5, even $14, $20 bottle of wine is cheaper than that $150 that you was going to spend when you was going out trying to compare yourself to others because it seemed like they were having a great time. You don't have those issues. You don't have those problems. And so you've been grinding for so long that you get to a point where any small thing doesn't really rattle you like it used to, because, oh, I'm prepared. I played great defense. So when it comes down to the fourth quarter and you need to turn into freaking Tom Brady and throw 3 touchdowns and come back from 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, you can make it happen. You can call a Hail Mary. You've been practicing. You've been focusing on your failures and not everybody else's successes. You've been focusing on your successes and not everybody else's failures, because it goes twofold. You're like, they failing, so I might fail and I might not be nearly as successful. Not knowing that every step that you've had in your life, whether you came from poverty